These are daily affirmations you can speak over yourself from the book Conversations with God, Book 1, Neale Donald Walsch. Chapter 1, The Nature of God and Communication. God is communicating with me, always, through feelings, through intuition, through the people and events and sudden moments of clarity that arrive uninvited and refuse to be dismissed. The question is not whether I am receiving signals, it is whether I am paying attention. Feeling is the language of the soul. When something resonates with a deep, quiet truth inside me, not the loud, anxious truth of the ego, but the still, clear truth of the deeper self, I trust it. I follow it. I let it lead me. I am open to receiving communication from God in forms I did not expect. I release the idea that the divine only speaks through approved channels. God is not limited by my categories. I stop limiting my receiving. I do not supplicate. I appreciate. The posture of gratitude is the posture of most open to receiving. A grateful mind is already aligned with the frequency of the good it is grateful for. I practice gratitude as the primary form of prayer. Chapter 2, The Nature of Truth and Creation. I'm the creator of my experience, not in every surface detail, but in the deepest sense. The meaning I assign to events, the story I tell about what is happening, and the quality of consciousness I bring to each moment are all my choices. I make them deliberately. My sponsoring thought, the root belief beneath all my other beliefs, is the most powerful force in my life. It shapes what I notice, what I attract, and what I interpret as possible. I examine my sponsoring thoughts honestly. I change the ones that are not serving love. I speak carefully. Words are not just descriptions of reality. They are creative forces that participate in the reality they describe. I choose words that build, heal, and clarify rather than words that diminish, wound, or confuse. I am not discovering who I am. I am creating who I am, moment by moment, decision by decision, thought by thought. That distinction is the most empowering truth I have ever encountered. I create deliberately. Chapter 3, Relationships and Why They Fail. I enter every relationship to give rather than to get. Not as a martyrdom, but as the genuine recognition that what I extend outward is what I simultaneously experience within. When I give love freely, I know myself as loving. That is the purpose of every relationship. I do not enter relationships to fill a lack. I bring my whole self. The person who comes to a relationship empty, looking for the other person to complete them, asks more of that person than any human being can sustainably deliver. I come full. I share what I have. I release the need for my relationships to be a certain way. I hold my people with open hands rather than closed fists. Love that requires specific behavior from the beloved in order to continue is not love. It is a contract. I choose love. I communicate honestly in my closest relationships, not brutally, not carelessly, but with the courageous gentleness of a person who understands that suppressed truth always comes out sideways. I say the true thing directly and with care. Chapter 4. The nature of the soul and life's purpose. My life has purpose. Not a purpose assigned by circumstances or performance, but a purpose that is built into the nature of what I am as a soul. To experience, to choose, to grow, and to know myself more fully through every interaction I enter. I am not here to be tested. I am here to experience. The difference matters enormously. A test implies a possibility of failure with consequences. An experience implies a possibility of learning with transformation. I approach my life as a student, not a defendant. The soul does not judge. It observes, it chooses, and it grows. The part of me that judges harshly, myself and others, is not the voice of my deepest nature. My deepest nature knows only love and curiosity. I listen to that voice more than any other. I am eternal. Whatever I am experiencing right now is not the whole story. It is not even close to the whole story. I live from that expanded perspective, not to dismiss the present, but to hold it with the grace that an eternal being can afford. Chapter 5. The sponsoring thought. Beneath every decision I make, there is a sponsoring thought. It is either rooted in love or in fear. I am learning to trace my choices back to their root. And when I find fear at the bottom, I replace it with love before I act. Fear produces contraction. Love produces expansion. Every time I make a decision from fear, I make myself smaller. Every time I make a decision from love, I make myself larger. I choose expansion. I choose love. I am vigilant about my sponsoring thoughts because I understand that the outer circumstances of my life are the printed result of my inner life. Change the inner conversation and the outer reality follows. I start with the inner conversation. I love without condition. This is the most difficult practice and the most transformative. Not love when the other person behaves lovably, but love as a state of being that does not depend on external performance. I practice this, and I will keep practicing this. Chapter 6. Life Choices and the Path Forward. I ask myself in every significant decision, what would the grandest version of me do here? That question is the most useful compass I have ever found. It does not tell me what is easy. It tells me what is true. I follow the true thing. I stop choosing from the smallest version of myself, the frightened version, the version that is managing appearances and protecting against worst-case scenarios. I choose from my largest self, the one that knows it is held, knows it is capable, and knows that love is always the right direction. I am not a victim of my history. My past produced me. It does not define me. The moment I recognize that I am free to choose differently than I have always chosen, the past loses its claim on the future. I recognize that freedom. I exercise it. I act on what I know, not on what I fear. Fear projects outcomes that have not yet occurred and treats them as if they already have. Knowledge looks at what is actually true right now and responds to that. I respond to what is actually true. Chapter 7. Relationships and Authentic Living. I allow myself to be fully seen in my most important relationships. Not the curated version, not the version that has filed away the difficult parts, the actual person with the full range of my experience. That is the invitation to real intimacy, and I accept it. I stop performing in my relationships and start inhibiting them. Performing is exhausting and produces nothing real. Inhibiting, bringing my genuine presence to the actual moment I am in with the actual person in front of me, is what produces connection. I release the relationships that consistently require me to be less than I am. Not with anger or blame, but with the clear-eyed recognition that a relationship that can only survive on a diminished version of me is not a relationship that is serving either person. I create space in my closest relationships for the other person to be exactly who they are, in exactly the season they are in. I do not require them to perform for my comfort. I offer them the same spaciousness I want to be offered. Chapter 8. Right and Wrong. I release the habit of moral judgment as the primary lens through which I evaluate human behavior, including my own. I replace it with a more useful question. Is this working? Is this producing the outcome I actually want? Does this behavior serve the person I am choosing to become? I take responsibility for my own choices without condemning myself for them. I made the choice I made with the information and the state of consciousness I had at that time. I have new information now. I make a new choice. That is the practice. I stop using right and wrong as weapons. They are the most reliable conversation-ending tools available, and the least useful for actually resolving anything. I replace them with curiosity. What happened? What were you trying to achieve? How can we do this differently? Chapter 9. The nature of evil and human choice. I understand the capacity for great harm and the capacity for great love exist in every human being. This is not cause for despair. It is the reason compassion is possible and the reason redemption is real. No one is permanently beyond the reach of love. I do not write anyone off. Not myself, not the people who have hurt me, not the people whose choices I find most incomprehensible. The same divine nature that is present in me is present in them. That does not excuse behavior, but it preserves the possibility of transformation. I refuse to make a home in hatred. Hatred feels like power but functions like poison. It corrodes the vessel that holds it far more than it harms the object of it. I choose again. I choose the harder, stronger thing. Understanding without excuse, compassion without approval. Chapter 10. Suffering and Life's Design. I have been through hard things, and I have not been abandoned in any of them. Looking back across the full arc of what I have lived, I can see, not always clearly, not always immediately, but eventually, how the hard things were part of something bigger. I trust that arc even when I cannot yet see it. I do not require my suffering to make sense before I am willing to move through it. I move through it. The meaning often only becomes visible from the other side. I keep moving toward the other side. I release the question of why this happened and replace it with the question of who I am choosing to be in response to it. The why is often unavailable. The who is always available. I choose who right now without waiting for the why. My pain has not disqualified me. It has qualified me. The specific suffering I have endured has produced in me a capacity for empathy, resilience, and understanding that I could not have acquired any other way. That capacity is not wasted. It is the gift I give to the people I serve. Chapter 11. Money and Self-Worth. I have a healthy, open, respectful relationship with money. I do not fear it, resent it, or believe I am unworthy of it. Money is a resource. Like all resources, it flows toward people who respect it, manage it wisely, and use it in alignment with their values. I am that person. I release every belief that says having money means something bad about my character. The association between spiritual depth and financial poverty is a story, not a law. I can be deeply connected to God and financially abundant at the same time. I claim both. My self-worth is not determined by my net worth, but my net worth is often shaped by my self-worth. A person who does not believe they deserve abundance will unconsciously sabotage their own financial growth. I believe I deserve abundance. I stop undermining it. I think about money clearly and honestly. I track it. I respect it. I use it as a tool for the purposes that matter most to me. For freedom, for generosity, for the ability to serve people in the ways I am best equipped to serve them. Chapter 12. Being versus doing. I am a human being before I am a human doing. What I do is an expression of who I am, not the other way around. When I lose myself in the doing and forget the being, I produce results that feel hollow even when they look successful. I tend the being first. I define myself by who I am, not by what I produce. My identity is not my output. It is not my title, my income, my following, or my achievement. It is something far more stable and far more fundamental. I know what that is. I return to it regularly. I create space in my life for being. Not as productivity, not as recovery for more doing, as a practice in itself. The person who knows how to simply be, without agenda, without performance, without output, is the person with the deepest access to their own wisdom. My doing flows from my being. When I act from a centered, grounded, clear sense of who I am, my work has a quality and a coherence that effortful striving cannot produce. I am. And from that being, I do. In that order. Always in that order. Chapter 13. Health, the body, and wellness. I take care of this body because it is the instrument through which I live my purpose in this world. Not out of vanity, out of stewardship. I owe the work I was created to do the best instrument I can provide for it. I listen to my body. It is communicating constantly through energy levels, through symptoms, through the physical sensation of alignment and misalignment. I pay attention to what it is telling me, and I respond with care rather than suppression. I release the beliefs that are producing dis-ease in my body. The body is the last place a suppressed truth shows up. After the mind, after the emotions, after the energy field. When the body signals something that is wrong, I look inward as well as outward for the source. I choose health. Not just the absence of illness, but the active, vibrant, energetic experience of a body that is well nourished, well rested, well moved, and aligned with the spiritual and emotional life it is housing. Chapter 14. Life's Purpose and the Larger Story. I am always becoming. The person I am today is not the final version. It is the current version. The product of everything I have chosen, experienced, and learned up to this moment. And the next version is already forming in the choices I am making right now. My life is meaningful, not because I have achieved a certain status or produced a certain outcome, but because I am conscious, choosing, growing, being who is participating in the ongoing story of what it means to be human. That participation has inherent meaning. I do not need to have everything figured out before my life is valid. The process of figuring it out is the life. The journey is not a delay before the arrival. It is the arrival. I show up fully for the journey. I carry with me into every room I enter the awareness that every person I meet is on their own journey of becoming, at their own pace, in their own direction, with their own set of tools and limitations. I extend to them the grace that my own becoming has required of the people around me. I am loved. Completely, without condition, without reservation, without limit. I receive it now, I carry it forward, and I offer it to everyone I meet in whatever form they are most able to receive it. I hope this blesses you. Grace and peace.